Hello and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, Yumiko's route. Sorry it has been a while, but as you may be able to tell, my voice have been pretty much gone. Well, actually, I've had a rather nasty cold, which have stopped me from recording this. The reason I've recorded other stuff is that unlike a visual novel where I have to do multiple voices and pretty much talk all the time, other types of gameplay requires me to also focus on what I'm actually doing with the controller, which means I don't have to talk all the time, like in a visual novel. So, in the last episode, a while back, we learned what Sakagi Yumiko's trait or quirk, if you will, was, why she ended up in a place like Mihammer Academy. And in fact, we learned that Mihammer Academy was built just to house her, at least as in the start. Let's continue. A personality starts off as something like a cube. When we're young, we clumsily bump our corners against other people in form of childish conflicts. Eventually, our sharp edges are worn away to leave something more like a sphere. That's more or less what people are describing when they say someone's softened. Moderate collisions with others help us mature, but when those first impacts are too strong, they can have a different effect. Instead of losing our corners little by little, we splinter in strange, harsh ways, warping into crooked shapes. Once crooked, it's hard to become a sphere. Even as the people around them mellow, their sharpness only grows harsher, and everyone who approaches ends up getting hurt. But even the most warped human beings started off the same shape as everyone else. Sometimes they look back on the past and grieve, sometimes they wonder if it's not too late to reshape themselves. And because they know that's an empty dream, they grieve once again. Sakagi Yumiko is one of many such sad, distorted objects. The rain, which I had taken for a passing shower, continued long after the thunder passed away. By the time we leave our cover in the lingering drizzle, the sun's already set. In a change from the usual routine, I hurried down the road home with an arm wrapped around Sakagi, who stumbled along unsteadily at my side. The rain never did let up. More unfortunately. The rain's very weak by now, but the constant dampness has left her body noticeably chilled. And at the moment her emotional state is a bit of a concern as well. I lean closely over Sakagi as we walk, sheltering her from the rain the best as I can. That relative brief journey back to the dorm feels awfully long right now. You're back. What's the deal? You guys were gone for... Whoa, Sakagi-san, what's wrong? Did you get hurt or something? Amani yelps in surprise the instant she lays eyes on us. Was it that much of a shock to see me holding Sakagi by the shoulder? Well, considering the girl's normal personality, I suppose it's only reasonable to jump straight to assuming something's physically wrong with her. We got caught in that downpour, that's all. We sheltered from the rain for a while. Ended up getting soaked anyway, huh? Are you alright, Sakagi-san? I'm sorry for making you worry. Her physical condition aside, Sakagi seems badly drained in spirit. That uncharacteristic weakness from before is still plainly evident in her tone of voice. That's fine. You must be pretty cold, right? I'll get you something warm to drink if you want. Thank you. Yes, I'll take you up on that. Roger, Yuuji, can you get Sakagi-san back to her room, okay? I'll bring it up when it's ready. Appreciate it. No big deal. Come on, get a move on already. I'm making a note. Once I'm old and grey, I'm going to write, Amani was like a mother to us all in my memories. If that's an attempt at showing gratitude, try writing something that doesn't age me 20 years. As soon as I got Sakagi to her room, she collapsed into her bed. Normally she would have ejected me to change out of her wet clothes, but she's currently lacking the energy and willpower to even bother. Sakagi-san really was worn out, wasn't she? She's already asleep. Yep. The hot orange and honey drink Amanda provided seemed to calm Sakagi down. It didn't take long at all for her to nod off. I think she's got a slight fever as well. We were out in the rain and all. Yeah, she does feel a little hot. Lightly holding her hand to Sakagi's forehead, Amanda nods in agreement. Sakagi doesn't seem to be in any real discomfort, but I can tell that she's breathing a little roughly. In any case, thanks for the help, Amane. I'm going to keep an eye on her for a little longer, but you can head back to your room. Oh, sure. Amane's response seems oddly hesitant. What's wrong? Yuuji? Yes? Well, I think you probably know better, but don't do her, okay? The hell? Well, we are all alone together and you're not nursing her or anything, so maybe you just seize the moment and dip your wig and then we'll all be in all kinds of trouble and I can't have you catching her cold, right? My face falls into my palm. For some reason I find myself recalling a gag brain graph website Sachi showed me once. Just by entering someone's name, you'd get a brain-shaped pie chart breaking down the composition of their thoughts. I didn't think to try Amane at the time, but I think hers would be divided half right down the middle. One side would be folksy grandma wisdom, the other, as should probably go without saying, would be branded with the word sex. You think I'm going to start making babies like a rabbit the moment someone leaves me in a cage with a female? Does this scenario play out frequently inside that filthy mind of yours? Look, I'm just trying to warn you before things get out of hand. Come on, you know where I'm coming from here, right? It's still not entirely clear to me what Amane is so worried about, but I find it extremely unpleasant to have such aspersions cast on my character. Well, it's not a bad idea, come to think of it. What are you talking about? I've heard that a slight fever can actually make for a more enjoyable experience, in some respects. Huh? Alright then, might as well put that to the test. It's not like you can catch a fever intentionally, and I'll admit I'm curious. I'm sure Qa'Rajh will understand. A little experimentation like this can only enrich your life, right? She might end up thanking me for expanding her horizons. And a scowl from Amane. Yuuji is not the best comedian, but at least he tried. The thought hadn't even occurred to me, but thanks to a tip from my sexually savvy friend Amane, a new world of possibility awaits. Life is always overflowing with chances to explore the wonders of the unknown. I'm deeply impressed by your ability to keep that in mind even at a time like this. Thank you, Amane. Amane? Amane stares back at me with a blank eye of a broken electronic toy. Smiling brightly, I give her a friendly thump on the shoulder. It was a joke. It damn well better be, you total idiot. Amane's karate chop lands a critical hit smack in the middle of my weary head. From outside, an owl hoots in mournful commiseration. Well, I'm gonna go back now, but seriously, no funny business. You got to let her rest. I said I understand, didn't I? Come on, get lost already. I'm having a really hard time trusting you. Amane backs slowly out of the room, staring at me reproachfully all the way. I was only teasing her a little in retaliation for slandering me, but it seems I've ended up deepening her unfounded suspicions. Probably best to consider the possibility she might try some half-assed wiretapping outside the door. Shaking my head, I return to Sakaki's side. Her breath's coming regularly and a little more quietly than before. She doesn't seem to have noticed the commotion in the slightest. Well, that's definitely for the best. Borrowing the chair from Sakaki's desk, I ease myself down and look over her at closer range. Come to think of it, this is the first time I've seen her sleeping. The girl really does have a pretty face. She's constantly forcing it into a scowl, so it's easy not to notice at times, but Sakaki Yumiko is definitely what you'd call a beauty. Right now, that face is relaxed, her eyes shut, her cheeks slightly flushed. Sakaki looks very calm and peaceful at the moment, but much of her life has been an emotional rollercoaster of loneliness, hope, and anger. Now that I know the whole story, her usual prickly attitude is all too understandable. Rest easy, alright? I'll protect you. I lightly reach down to put my hand on her forehead, currently covered in a damp towel. The moisture against my palm is slightly warm from the heat of her fever. Early the next morning, I'm stretching in preparation for my usual running when I hear quiet footsteps on the stairs. A familiar look of mild surprise. However, where Sakaki's expression would normally shift to a frown, today it changes to something hesitant and uncertain. What's the matter? Your face is red. Still carrying that fever around? Mind your own business. For your information, I got over that fever in no time. I got over it thanks to you. Good to hear. About yesterday. Thank you for everything. I didn't do anything worth being thanked for. Yes, you did. hired you to be my bodyguard, not to listen to my life story.
You asked for my permission before you started talking, and I agreed to listen. There's nothing wrong with that.
I suppose. I've noticed Sakagi tends to grow oddly sullen when the topic of my job comes up, but today she seems downright docile. The girl does look healthy enough. Still, it's entirely possible yesterday's events left some lingering psychological effects.
Sakagi?
What is it?
As long as your request is in place, I'll protect you. Rest assured. That's all.
Finishing my leg stretches, I stand up and check the clock. Just about time for me to be heading out.
I'm going to be running for a while, unless you need anything. Alright then, see you this afternoon.
Feeling Sakagi's eyes following me from behind, I leave the door. I don't have much to offer Sakagi right now. A simple promise is the best I can do. Hopefully, that's enough to provide some reassurance. The past can't be taken back, no matter how hard you try. That's a lesson I myself learned all too well. All the more reason she has to value her present.
Hopefully they're just giving up, but...
Fortunately, the threats approaching Sakagi have gone quiet for the moment. If this pattern continues, it shouldn't be hard for me to keep up my promise. And a few days later, in an echo of Sakagi's past, the hopeful present abruptly takes a sharp turn for the worse.
You alright, Sakagi? Can you keep running?
I'm fine. So she says, but it's obvious at a glance that the girl's close to her limit. Harsh gasps for air interrupt the feeble words coming out of her mouth.
Damn it. They caught me napping.
Seemingly taking my words of regret as their cue, a number of men swiftly surround us. Protecting Sakagi behind my back, I confront the semicircle of attackers. This sort of scene has certainly been common enough over the last month, but this time our opposition is in an entirely different league.
Was this what they were aiming for all along?
They stopped the car above the riverbank and came down on us suddenly. Up until that point it was the same as usual. But as my master once told me, relying on precedent is a dangerous game. Always think outside the range of your predictions. A lesson, it seems, I didn't learn nearly well enough. As I readied myself for yet another simple one-by-one attack, the first 3 men out of the car charged at me simultaneously.
Whoa.
Caught by surprise, I faltered for just a moment. They seized a chance and executed a beautifully coordinated attack. The first 2 moved to grab my arms and legs, while the trailing man came straight at me to deliver a disabling blow.
Whoa! Again!
The fight would have been over in seconds if I'd misjudged the attacks from the left and right even slightly. Stooping down to avoid their grasping arms, I kicked the first man's ankle and chopped my hand into the second man's liver.
Since when do they attack at...
I didn't even have time to catch my breath before the third man's fist came down on me from above. Sheer reflex got my elbow up in time to block the punch, but his attacks continued in an unrelenting stream.
Damn it, that hurts, asshole.
This guy had some impressive back muscles, and he knew how to use them. His tightly clenched fist swung down at my head with the force of 2 massive hammers. A single direct hit would have given me a concussion at the very least, and a knockout seemed a very real possibility.
Oh!
With a sharp battle cry, I slipped by the hammerman's side and drove a heel into his knee. The hammer stopped in his tracks. As he reflexly reached down for his right leg, I followed up with a second kick, this time to the head. I'd somehow managed to bring down the first wave of attackers, but the dramatic change in their tactics was alarming. I could feel my heart thudding frantically in my chest.
If they try that with a bigger team, it's going to get ugly.
My instinctive response was to run for it with Sakagi in tow. Unfortunately, our enemies clearly anticipated that. Where they used to have their entire force charged down from the car, this time they've set up a second team further along the bank to cut off our retreat.
Can't let them all attack at once or it's game over.
I carefully seize up the group of men surrounding us. One thing's immediately clear. There's not going to be an easy way out this time.
Listen up, Sakagi.
What is it?
I'm going for a preemptive strike. Once I open a gap in the perimeter, make a run for it. I'll keep them off your back.
But then you'll be...
There's no time to debate this. Let's go.
I break into a sprint, heading for a point where 3 of the 5 men surrounding us can easily move to intercept. As expected, they instantly launch a simultaneous attack, aiming to trap me in a pincer.
There we go.
I dodged grasping arms from the left and right at the very last possible moment, slipping forward to leave 2 of the men charging directly at each other. What? The pair of dark-suited men jerked to an unsteady halt like a pair of outfielders chasing the same fly ball. Seizing the moment, I grabbed them by the legs and flipped them off their feet. The 2 men hit the ground head first with a satisfying pair of thugs. Before I can even confirm they're staying down, their bodies got a sleeper chokehold on me from behind. But I had seen this coming from the moment he started circling around behind me. I bent back into the hold, then strained my abdominal muscles and swing my body sharply forward. Tossed over my shoulder in a throw you might see in a judo competition, the man flies a good 2 meters forward before landing face first in the dirt.
That's 3 taken care of.
Now all I need to do is keep the 2 from behind occupied for long enough for Sakagi to get clear.
Alright, now, run, Sakagi.
But...
hurry up.
Still shooting reluctant glances in my direction, Sakagi begins to run along the riverbank. The other 2 attackers quickly try to slip past me and pursue her.
Not happening.
As the pair splits apart to either side, I hurl a stone tied to a heavy string toward the feet of the faster runner. Tripped up by the core, the man turns to somersault in the air and lands awkwardly on the ground, one arm crunching loudly underneath him. Even as I'm confirming that he's down, I've begun to grapple with his partner. The moment we come to grips, it's clear to me that I've left the most troublesome one of the bunch for last. His physique didn't particularly stand out in this group, but he got dense muscles and excellently balanced body. This is exactly his sort of fight.
I was hoping to take him down smoothly and catch up with Sakagi, but guess that's not happening.
I can only pray Sakagi manages to get out of here on her own. Silent except his intermittent breathing, the man moves his body back and forth in a variety of ways, probing for a gap in my defenses. It's a far cry from the frantic wriggling of an armed amateur. Every movement has meaning. I can't let down my guard for even a moment.
Please get out of here.
Keeping half an eye on Sakagi, I desperately hold him in check. And just as he's finally reaching the foot of the slope... Yeah! Distracted by the fight behind her, Sakagi stumbles over a heavy patch of undergrowth and falls to the ground.
Sakagi!
For a split second, her scream distracts me. Dizzyingly intense pain shoots through my left arm.
He got me.
I can feel the skin of my skin rapidly growing hot, as if suddenly plunged into a tub of boiling water. A small glinting silver knife sticks straight out of my forearm like some absurd work of modern art. My grip on the man weakens against my will. In an instant, he's broken free of the grapple. The corners of his mouth curl up in something vaguely resembling a smile as he turns his attention to Sakagi. No! No, stay away! Sakagi scrabbles frantically across the ground, her face distorted with terror. As if savoring the moment, the man begins to lope forward toward her with a relaxed pace. His first moment of carelessness.
I won't let you.
With one sharp yank, I tear the knife out of my arm, then hurl it at the man's ankle. Ah! The man collapses onto the ground and reaches down for his wounded leg. Before he can get his hands around the knife, I straddle around him and smash a fist into his solar plexus. Gastric juice spraying from his mouth, the man loses consciousness. I can feel blood flowing rapidly out of my body. Abruptly released from the tension of the fight, exhausted and bleeding, I look up to find the world swaying before my eyes. Kasami-kun! Sakagi rises to her feet and runs over. Staring wide-eyed at the blood streaming down my arm, she presses her hands to her mouth, speechless with horror.
I'm fine. You need to get out of here, Sakagi. Hurry.
But you're... look at your...
It'll be alright once I stop the bleeding. Get moving. There might be more where those guys came from.
Completely ignoring my repeated instructions to run, Sakagi reaches into a breast pocket and takes out a handkerchief and holds it to my wound. The pure white piece of cloth is quickly dyed bright red. There's so much blood. Her anguished expression distorts still further. I've heard people say women are a little less queasy around blood because they are their regular menstrual cycle, but I doubt that makes an injury like this any less surreal and terrifying. How should I stop the bleeding? I don't know much about this, so you have to tell me.
I'm telling you, it's fine. Right now you need to.
You can't expect me to just leave you here. Hurry! Sakagi's face is filled with uncharacteristically raw and obvious emotion. But then again, lately I've seen quite a few human expressions starting to leak out from behind that indifferent front of hers. In any case, there's no point in letting this circular argument drag on forever. We're just wasting time at this point.
Fine. Tie it tightly under the elbow.
Yes?
Sorry about the handkerchief, but keep it over the wound itself for now. There should be bandages in my bag. Can you wrap one over the entire area?
Alright.
Appreciate it.
With my guidance, Sakagi performs some rudimentary first aid. Soon I'm back on my feet. The blood loss has left me more than a little lightheaded, but we nonetheless hurry along the road home as quickly as possible. After all, there's no telling what else those people might have planned. The old rules clearly no longer apply. Sakagi hasn't spoken a word, most likely out of concern for me. It's painfully obvious that she's worried, but that only makes this feel even worse.
Pathetic. What kind of bodyguard makes the client worry about them?
For the moment, I've got to get us back to safe ground and plan some immediate countermeasures. Their tactics have changed on a fundamental level. We can't get away with the usual routine anymore. Across from the red glow of the setting sun, a flock of black rain clouds push threateningly into the sky as if to reinforce the looming threat. Look like it's going to be another rainy night. I see. So you managed to at least wound him then. Next time finish the job. Yes, if the man leaves you no other choice, I don't care if he ends up dead. Get Yumiko in the car even if you have to shove her inside. Understood? I won't let anyone interfere. I'm going to make this happen. Just do as I say, Yumiko. Welcome. What on earth? Understandably, it doesn't take long for Amane to notice that something is wrong. Practically the moment we're inside the dorm, her shocked voice attracts the attention of everyone lounging around in the lobby. As they run up, the blood seems to drain from their faces.
What the heck happened to you, Jen?
That bandage is bright red. You're bleeding?
What? What is this? Were you in an accident? Did something happen? Wait, seriously, come on!
The lazy summer evening quickly gives way to a borderline panic. Should we call an ambulance, or maybe I should drive you to the hospital?
No, there are complicated circumstances, so I'd prefer not to make too much of a scene. A little treatment should be enough. Sachi?
Yes?
Sorry, but can you help me out?
Yes, of course. I'll prepare immediately.
I'll help too, we need boiled water, right?
Michiru-sama, no one's giving birth. But we will need some clean towels and such.
Okay.
Sachi and Michiru noisily dash back to their respective rooms.
Yes, I'll head to my room for the moment. Sakagi, would you help me over there?
Yes, of course.
I appreciate it.
Okay, once he's patched up, I think we need to head over there and get the whole story.
This right here is beyond fishy, you know?
A few minutes after Sakagi helped me into bed, Sachi treats my wound with the skill of an experienced nurse. It's no worse than what I would have gotten at the hospital. Our maid's fearsome capabilities in this field are worthy of further examination, but for the moment, explaining the situation to the uneasy classmates gathered around me has to come first. Sounds like this has really gotten out of hand, huh? Amane responds to my brief summary with those words and a word sigh. Everyone had some idea that Sakagi had been coming under attack, but a knife coming into play seems to have left them a little more than disturbed.
Well, we gotta be thankful Yumichins got out okay, or at least.
I'd expect no less from Kasami-san. However, I'm still very concerned about those wounds.
You don't need to worry about me. That change in strategy just caught me by surprise today. I won't slip up like that next time.
Really? So you guys are going to be okay, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's a lie. An attempt to reassure them, nothing more. The ex-military man who knifed me today was a seriously tough opponent, and the others were no slouches either. Even under ideal circumstances, it would have been a tough fight. My failure this time is only going to encourage them to double down on the tough tactics. And while they can bring in fresh bodies, my cuts and bruises are going to start slowing me down eventually. I need to start devising countermeasures sooner rather than later. Sakagi's been very quiet for a while now. Her face is distinctly downcast. It's not like she's the one who stabbed me, but since she's been known to try on occasion, it's probably better not to joke about that.
Sorry, but I'm feeling a little tired. Think you could all let me sleep for a while?
Of course, we'll back up for now. Even Amane doesn't seem eager to throw the usual banter around. Understandable under the circumstances.
Sakagi, I'm sure today was a little nerve-wracking for you. Being alone might be frightening right now. So why don't you sleep over in someone else's room?
Yes.
Sorry, Sachi, but would you mind?
Not at all. Shall we go, Sakagi-san? Alright.
Let me know immediately if you notice anything suspicious. They haven't tried anything in school grounds so far, but there's no telling what comes next.
Roger. Sakagi barely said a word right up until the moment Sachi hustled her out of the room. That weighs on my mind a little, but even as I try to think it over, I feel myself sinking slowly into unconsciousness. As I sleep, I dream of Sakagi. I see her as a young girl standing very still in absolute darkness, sobbing endlessly. When I approach, her appearance changes to the young woman I know, but the tears don't stop flowing down her face. No matter what I say to her, Sakagi stands oblivious in the darkness, crying bitter tears.
Sakagi?
The moment I wake up, I notice an odd sensation enveloping my left hand. The darkened room is silent, but I sense someone's presence nearby. It almost feels like a continuation of the dream, but when I move my eyes to the side, the truth becomes clear.
Oh, Sakagi.
I'm sure Sachi ushered her out of the room. She should be sleeping by now. Instead, she's sitting at my side. I'm sorry. Did I wake you?
It's alright. I got some sleep. You've been sitting there all this time?
She answers with a quiet nod. I couldn't help worrying, so a little after going to Kamina-san's room, I ended up coming back.
Ah.
I'm sorry for holding your hand all this time. The strange warmth surrounding my left wrist is coming from Sakagi's hands.
I don't really mind.
I see. Sakagi's downturned eyes briefly steal a glance at my face. They are a little bloodshot, and I can see a hint of red in her cheeks. Seems that dream just now might have been accurate in a way. I really am very sorry. Stroking my hand a little, she speaks in sincerely apologetic tone.
Nothing to worry yourself over. When you're on guard duty, that sort of thing is always a possibility. Let's just be thankful no one ended up in the hospital.
But... The look on her face, I can tell Sakagi isn't remotely convinced by this line of argument. Hang on, I will just snatch myself a screenshot. Mostly because Sakagi's face is adorable here. It's not that great for the series purposes because Yuuji isn't on it, but for the sake of showcasing a different side of Sakagi, I think it's wonderful.
Look, it's nothing you need to feel guilty about. I accepted your request, so I'll put my body on the line when necessary. Even if I get a little banged up, as long as you're safe, that's a success.
Of course this isn't a success. What are you saying? All of a sudden her quiet voice grows rough and quavery. Honestly, how can you say that? You were wounded this bad and you call that a success? Seems I chose my words somewhat poorly. Sakagi's reached the end of her endurance. Tears, clearly not the first she's shed tonight, falls onto my bandaged hand.
Sakagi.
I'm sorry. I've really been making a spectacle of myself lately. The quiet crying begins to grow in intensity. Grasping my palm tightly, Sakagi heaves with sobs like a frightened child, teardrops raining from her face. Her voice echoes loudly inside the otherwise hushed room. From outside the window, I can hear the faint sound of water cutting through the air. Come to think of it, the forecast today called for rain a little after midnight. It's exactly the sort of dark, ugly rain Sakaki hates so much. I'm afraid. I'm so afraid. After a few minutes of wordless crying, those words slip out of her mouth.
Of what?
I'm afraid. Getting the people around me hurt. I don't want that. I can't stand watching it. At this rate, you and the others might end up suffering because of me, and then... Sakaki squeezes down tighter and tighter. A tear lands on top of her rigid, trembling hands, then another. I can't let that happen again. I just can't. Losing her mother, betrayed by her father, denied even the chance to make friends, she was pushed into a mock school built as a gilded cage. On an emotional level, it's not surprising that Sakaki finds this latest breakdown deeply painful. But that's also exactly why I want to do something for her. The job isn't easy under these circumstances, but if I can give her some peace of mind, I honestly don't mind taking a few wounds like this. Looking up at Sakaki's miserable face, I find myself regretting that I didn't manage to pass it off as a lighter injury. I can't make you suffer any more than this.
Don't worry about me. I can still do my job even if...
Listen to me. I'm really truly worried about you. Her voice is desperate, hoarse from the tears. I can't remember the last time I felt such a powerful hatred for my own incompetence. Complete silence settles over the room. Sakaki's eyes don't leave mine. With a sorrowful expression on her face, she opens her mouth and speaks sorrowful words. I'm dismissing you.
What was that?
For a moment I wonder if I misheard. But she doesn't hesitate to confirm my fears. You're guarding me because I made a request of you, right? In that case, I'm going to dismiss you.
What are you saying? You saw those people today. Without me around next time, they'll definitely...
I don't care. If that's the only way to keep you and the others safe, so be it. To be certain, although they attacked me today, their target is Sakaki alone. If I leave her side, the main threat disappears. Those dangerous goons will probably decrease in number, maybe even disappear altogether. But of course, that's simply because they'll be able to accomplish their objective even without the muscle. I swore I'd protect Sakaki. After making a promise like that, I can't accept a request to abandon her.
Sorry, but you're still in danger. I'm not willing to shrug my shoulders and walk away. I refuse to resign.
That's not acceptable. I'm firing you whether you're willing or not.
Do you know what you're saying here? These people aren't playing around anymore. You're going to...
Try to understand.
Listen to me, Sakaki.
Please understand. I'm begging you. Please understand. Sakaki's expression tells the story. This isn't something she just said on the spur of the moment. It was a painful decision made after a long thought. The tracks of her tears have left on her face, the tightly clenched hand, that anguished inner debate has left its marks on her. But just because I understand the depth of her resolve doesn't mean I can't accept it. It's painfully frustrating to know my sloppiness drove her to such agonizing decision.
Alright, I accept your dismissal.
Sakaki isn't going to budge no matter what I say. For the moment, there's no other way to give her relief. The instant I speak those words, the tension drains out of her hands. I'm sorry, It's as if a heavy weight has fallen from her shoulders, as if she's lost something precious. A hollow excuse for a smile on her face, Sakaki continues to apologize to me.
Don't apologize. You're not in the wrong here.
The sound of the rain outside gradually grows louder. A harsh pattering fills the dark room, cut off even from the light of the moon. As of this day, my employment with Sakaki Yumiko came to an end in the form of a dismissal. Things are no better than they were at the beginning. No one's been saved. It's the emptiest of all possible conclusions. And that's where we'll end the episode. So, we shall see how things are faring with Yuuji no longer the official bodyguard of Sakaki Yumiko. But that's all for next episode, which hopefully will come sooner than the pause between this and the latter episode has. Unless I get sick again, which I don't plan to do. And I certainly don't hope to do it either. But, well, until next time, take care.